So in Nigeria, we have like a very high rate of illiteracy, right? Not just illiteracy, there are other pretty much limiting factors in our democracy, tribal sentiments, corruption, and the likes. Uh, and the corruption is not just in the government, it's even sometimes amongst the people as well. So in such a particular kind of situation that is kind of different from what we have in, like in the West, for example, do you feel like there needs to be like a deliberate attempt to improve the quality of knowledge or the quality of perception of the people in order to like limit these excesses or these disadvantages of like having the group of people that is deviated from reality, or like having the people who support things that are not maybe practical or even wrong, outrightly wrong. How can we like shaping the perspective of people so that we can find that balance, right? I don't want to lean to one extreme and say, let's just go to dictatorship or let's just go to full-blown radical democracy. Yeah. So how can we like find a balance whereby we can maintain supporting the will of the people and at the same time ensure that the will of people is correct? Like what exactly can government do?
Okay, let me try to like find like a possible solution. Obviously, I think the first thing is getting our immediate priority in whatever elections that we want. So we are going to, so the first thing any citizen is going to be like, who is best to make sure that um economically I am stable, I'm okay. So when you now have those priorities, then when people are a bit more economically, they are able to eat and they are just able to afford the basics, then
Basics.
they can now reason like, okay, what is best for us as a country? Then they can come to the table. And I feel that is where someone like Obasanjo made a massive mistake. He made strong economic reforms, but what he could have done is try and reorientate the average Nigerian that what do you want your country to look like in 15 years? What kind of leadership do you people want? So that there is this identity that the country has. And you know that whenever there's a leader that sways away from it, we are not going to elect this person. So that they are not someone is not going to come with a tribal or religious sentiment, and it has to be a Nigerian identity. So he got it right on the economic front, but he failed to build. So and nation building comes with successive leadership. It's not one person. He can do something good and immediately you leave whatever you planned can just be thrown by the wayside. But you can, and it's easier when people are economically empowered to listen to you because you brought them those changes. If you are someone that brings good economy to people, they can listen to you. So if someone like that had brought good economy and in his succession was picking people that, or not really picking because that's more like a
Supporting.
dictatorship now, yeah, but backing or supporting the kind of people that knows that have that kind of mindset and will push, those kind of reforms economically and
But
idealistically.
did this support Yaradua?
He did.
He
Did
did.
that,
He
right?
did.
But was Yaradua like in line with that?
Yeah, that is
But
not
just
he's not really
We can't even say what
Obasanjo
Yaradua was.
yes.
That's the
Obasanjo
truth.
did not bring any like identity, like what
yeah,
is a Nigerian, who is
Yes.
a Nigerian, what
That's
should a
true.
Nigerian think like. They just thought in political
I think they
terms.
were trying to bring something like NYSC to, trying to force
Well,
a
so
unity without an ideology.
not really force, but I
in
would
the,
have
in
to
the
say so
end,
that I can
in the
type.
end, now, who defines who a patriotic Nigerian leader is? Who defines that? Is it the people or a particular person? That question needs to be answered. If it's a particular person who defines what a patriotic Nigerian should look like, detribalized, no corruption, or let's say minimal corruption, but has the interest of the state at heart, and then puts it in place, and successive leaders follow that pattern or follow that path, we elect leaders that are, that align their views with that notion that's been created as by, say, like an Obasanjo now. Uh, I feel the society would be much more better because in the end, the populace and the majority of the people would align themselves to that particular vision or that particular image that's been set for a patriotic Nigeria in the end. So every society needs to have an honest conversation about these things. I'm still going to hold on to my view that every society needs to have an honest conversation about these things. Now, we have the benefit of the hindsight. Nigeria has the benefit of hindsight. The Chinese had the benefit of the hindsight of the Soviet Union collapsing. They saw what happened when the Soviet Union collapsed, and they knew that they could not continue with the economic policies of the Soviet Union, following communism true and true. Now, an intelligent society would look at others and learn and, you know, basically develop its own system out of, the ruins or out of the lessons learned from other systems. So this is just what I believe and I hold true.
So you're trying to say like there's no current system to define who a Nigerian is, or what is that?
Perfect.
No,
There's no current
No,
you can have a
what-
conversation. In 2014, Jonathan called
Yeah,
a
yeah, I was
confab,
about to say that. I was about to say that.
like traditional rulers, religious leaders, prominent people in
Yeah,
all
yeah,
spheres, north, south,
yeah,
east, west.
yeah.
So those people can relate.
Created that
They
stuff.
get
but
feelers from
but
the
was
people,
there
and
and
was there a
see,
consensus? Was it
no, see,
was there a consensus that was achieved? Because
I think they made
in the
some
end, we
propositions.
they
cannot
made some
we cannot
propositions.
keep going
propositions.
round. We
See,
need a point.
let's not deceive
So
ourselves.
much
Like
was
we
spoiled
don't
rounds.
know that what an ideal person should look like. Now, before we start even going too far, before you say, okay, this is someone you would say is a good leader, a lot of Nigerians in this last election looked at Peter Obi and said that, okay, this is who an ideal leader should look like. It's always from what the person has done and what they perceive to be right, right? Now that it might be another discussion that, okay, is this what we perceive to be right, is that what is truly right? That's another discussion, that's another argument. But what I'm saying is that who can unite Nigeria is not difficult, or who an ideal Nigerian should look like is not difficult. Some people look at Pitobia and say he's not an ideal Nigerian, that is tribalistic. That's there.
So I
But
okay.
what I'm saying is this, that you look at what has been this person's predisposition about the issue concerning Nigeria and the unity of Nigeria. Then we talk about that. Okay, maybe this is the will of the people who a true Nigerian should look.
So you're saying like we need an ideal leader to define who an ideal Nigerian should be. Is that what you
No, I'm saying that you can only define what an ideal leader could be like based on his precedence.
okay? But I think we are trying to like
Yes, but you also have to, the president has to match what
the ideal
what the ideals
should be.
should be. Like that's why something like a discussion or a conversation, so that we set the rules and
So
set
yeah. So
the
I
templates,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
not rules, templates,
yeah.
that okay, what and what does this person match? If it now matches like 80-90%, because at the end of the day nobody is 100. you
This
you, you
this
not,
conversation is a whole lot conversation on itself. Who should an ideal Nigerian be?
Yeah,
Who
so
should
I think it's yeah, yeah.
it's a big discussion.
To
But
determine who like an ideal leader may be, you first have to determine who the ideal Nigerian should be, because the leader is like the leader of the Nigerian people, right? So there should be some core values that we all as Nigerians, whether you're Hausa, Yoruba, Fulani, whatever, Igbo, whatever tribe you are, you identify with those core values, right? And I think we have a lot of those things, right? Like the Nigerians believe in hard work. Nigerians are very religious, right? Also, some cultural values are kind of similar. The way we perceive elders, the way we perceive children, how children should be trained and raised up. We have those similarities, right? So probably like an identity formed around that may be helpful, right? In helping to like create an image, right, that all of us can walk towards. We may end up falling short of it sometimes, obviously. That's why we are humans. But at least we are working towards a particular set of image or a particular set of values, right? Like God, family, hard work, community, the way the community should be.
Yeah.
We are working towards those identities, right? So it helps to like um align the will of people in quote towards the right decisions that can be made. So through those lenses, we can make decisions on what would be a good policy to implement or will not be a good policy to implement. But then I also think like, I'm probably just to round up, like I think another thing is also the quality of like um, knowledge in the citizens about how the government works, number one, about, you know, um, the intricacies, right, of implementing policies, right? Like for example, taxes. Why do we need taxes? What exactly are taxes about? How can we, properly, determine what particular rate of taxes or taxation should be implemented and all of that? People need to like have understanding of these things. So I think probably the government has to make like more effort towards like training
Towards
people,
education.
yeah, towards education.
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 Because without that, the will of people will
Yes.
always be misplaced, right?
Yes.
It will always be misplaced. There will always be that difference in perception of the people versus perception of the reality of the government,
Yeah.
right? Even if the government is good, because you could have like a very good president or whatever in a position, right? And the policies he's implementing will be unfavorable, right? Because he's thinking more about the long-term effect, but they are thinking about the short-term effect. So they have that orientation has to be done. And I think probably channels like Agora too are helping to do that, right? Don't you guys? Yeah. Right. So guys, yeah, thank you guys for joining the discussion today.
Thank you.
We had a very, very enlightening one. I think I've taken quite some notes as well. I'll go back and refresh myself on it. But let me know your opinion. What do you think particularly? Do you think is the will of the people always correct? Right? How should government approach balancing the will of the people versus the reality of governance? Right? What exactly are your opinions? You can just put it in the comments. Let's hear from you.